we will of course track those stories through the day on WION, but let's take a look at something else right now. Malana is a picturesque town in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. It is secluded and cocooned in its cultural and social fabric. However, amidst that beauty lurks a dark secret. Malana's economy is heavily dependent on the production of hashish. Many children and teenagers are involved in the process of producing it. As the rubbing season unfolds, everything, including their education, takes a backseat. WION's Ashish Joshi and Nagin Singh brings us this exclusive look inside this reclusive town.
Malana is a secluded village which produces world's best hash. We were led high up in the mountains where the plantation fields are difficult to access, especially for the police.
हर एक व्यक्ति चरस मिलता है हर सीज़न उगाता है बिजाई करता है अगस्त में बीज फेंकेंगे और अक्टूबर में होगा वो तैयार सितंबर यानी लास्ट सितंबर में तैयार हो जाएगा वो बाहर के लोग भी उगाते थे इधर चरस और वो लोग बेचते थे सस्ते में
अच्छा
600 रुपये तोला अब मेरा 6000 रुपये का तोला तो उस टाइम कंपटीशन हो रहा था सबके पास माल बिकता नहीं था माल उस टाइम निकालने वाले ज़्यादा थे पीने वाले कम थे आज की डेट में पीने वाले ज़्यादा हो गए
ये कितना तोला में देगा भाई जी
यार ये तो बहुत महंगा है
कितना है
5-7 तोला है
एप्पल है
हाँ तो तुम स्कूल नहीं जाते यही क्यों रब करते हो
आज स्कूल कल भी है छुट्टी
तो कल भी रब करो
कल भी
किसके साथ रब करते हो
हम तीनों खुद करते हैं
अच्छा घर वाले
भी करते हैं
कहाँ पे
ऊपर कोई ऊपर जाते हैं
अच्छा इधर सबसे ज़्यादा माल कहाँ बनता है
सबसे ज़्यादा मारते हैं मलाना में पड़ता है
क्या उम्र है तुम्हारी अभी
10
Hash is readily available here. It can be easily produced and easily bought.
How much $?
How much is for $? Cream or regular medium?
Cream. This cream? Yeah.
How much is for $? $1.
How much?
How much? $5. Come on,
$3. Okay, we take 3.
3.
Yes.
में तो दुनिया चली हुई है ना ये तो नहीं कि यहाँ मलाना में ही है हिमाचल में तो हर कोने कोने में है ना बाकी जगह में बीमारी है उससे पागल हो जाते हैं
अच्छा
और यहाँ का हमारा यहाँ का उससे नहीं होता है पागल
Each of the 350 households in Malana produces 5 kilos of hash, a total of around 1,750 kilos each season. All of it generates a total income of about 30 crores or roughly $7.8 million.
ये है तो ये कम है क्योंकि एक पुलिस आया था ना इसको दे दिया
पुलिस को दे दिया
Malana residents are very suspicious of the government. They even ban cameras. So far, the authorities have failed to end drug trafficking and also failed to start a rehabilitation initiative. As the world turns a blind eye to this crisis, it is the children who bear the brunt of it.
12 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में करता है चरस कितने चरस काटेगी पुलिस भी सच्ची है अनगिनत यहाँ पे कितने कहाँ जाएगी हर कोने पे चरस लगाया हुआ है लोगों ने चरस तो ख़त्म होने वाला है नहीं ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता कि काट के चरस ख़त्म ही कर दिया
Joining us in the studio is Vinod Kumar Tikku, former member NCPCR and a child rights activist. So you saw that story that we just played out on our channel. Clearly there are a number of issues at hand here. There is of course the legality, there is the children's rights in all of this. We'll break it down, our conversation, but to start with, I mean, it's quite obvious that this activity is illegal. It works outside the dictums of law. Why hasn't there been any sort of intervention that has succeeded so far as government and administration goes in this production?
You see, as far as this community of this village people there, they are concerned, they consider themselves to be the descendants of soldiers of the Greek Alexander the Great, and they do not allow anybody from outside to come inside. If you go to buy something there and you cannot touch them, you cannot shake hands, you will have to leave the money on the counter and they will come and pick it up and leave the product on the counter for you to take up. So that is how they have been maintaining themselves, aloof from the other, cut off from the rest, and they don't want any interference from anybody. Although the society is run by a panch, a sarpanch, who is elected from within the community, no policeman is allowed to come inside. And if somebody goes to complain to police, then he has to pay a fine to the panchayat out there. So such is their very strict taboo on people to have outside links.
But can that be a reason enough?
No, that cannot be the reason. That cannot be the reason. And there have been, there are just 2 schools out there. There's a primary school which has roughly about 110 children at the moment. Of course, midday meals is served there. That is the reason why we have 110 children out there in such a small village. And we also have a primary middle school there where there are just about 13 or 14 students out there with 4 teachers. The problem is making the people aware, making the leaders of the community aware that how beneficial it is for the children to have. They have been deprived of many things, not just education. They have been deprived of their right to play. They have been deprived of their right to health. Even the health aspect is being totally neglected out there.
Right.
So this is where the ICDS program has to look into this. The people will have to go in. Of course, the access to the village is also very different. It's very difficult to reach that area.
So there's a number of factors clearly.
There are a number of factors, and then the social welfare department, the education department will have to make an out efforts to go therein and maybe make people aware that how beneficial it is for the community to come up with the education for children.
Right. So in fact, in that report we saw that one of the producers, one of the rubbers, was saying that, I'll give a little bit to the police to keep them off. So clearly that's another aspect of this this sort of
that's what you call the legality part of it, where yes, this is how they ward off the outside intervention into therein.
Right. And do you feel that perhaps it's also because how lucrative the business is, that there is a lot of money?
And they take pride in saying that this is the best hashish in the entire world.
Right.
And there are people, there are tourists who go out there only to get this hashish out there.
Right. In fact, joining us right now also is my colleague Shailja Verma. She is standing by with Nagin Singh, our reporter who actually went up and did that story. Shailja, I'd ask you to, maybe ask Nagin a couple of questions really about what he found to be, as Mr. Tikku saying, there are a lot of factors at play in terms of why there's not been an arrest of the spread of, the production of Malana cream or hashish in that area. Let's just listen in to what Nagin has to say about that.
Well, Asha, our colleagues Nagin Singh and Ashish Joshi travelled all the way to Malana and spent close to 7 days there. They met all the locals and the villagers and got a sense of what's really happening on the ground. Let me straight away go across to Nagin. Nagin, tell us what you saw there and give us a sense of your experience in Malana.
Well, this place, it's completely secluded. I'm sorry, that there are no, you can't reach there with vehicles. You have to trek for around 2 hours to reach to the village. And after reaching to the village, you see you have plants everywhere. You have cannabis plants everywhere. But to see the real fields, we had to trek for around 6 hours, 7 hours above village. And then you have the real fields. And police can't reach there. Only the villagers who know that, okay, they have their fields over there, those people can reach there. And the problem is that, okay, they will do the rubbing over there, police cannot reach there. Then how can we think that, okay, someone can stop it? And there was police at that time when we reached there, and we saw the police that, okay, they were destroying all the plants in the village, but they couldn't reach the place where they should reach. We saw children who were rubbing in the village, even 3-year-old children, 4-year-old children, and they were very happy because they know that they are going to earn money out of it. When I reached the village, I had the hidden camera, so everyone will ask you, okay, do you want to buy some charas? Do you want to buy some charas? For 2,000 you'll have a bad quality, for 6,000 you'll have the best cream, and this cream goes to Amsterdam, this cream goes to US and any other place where it is legal.
And again, in your report, we saw how children as young as 10 are openly selling hash on the streets of Malana, and that is a serious cause of concern. So how does one address that?
Well, I think they find it, okay, this is their tradition, you know. If you talk to any of the villagers, they'll say that it is our tradition, we have been doing it for ages. What else can they do? They don't have education, they have nothing. Even if we compare this education system that they have or the kind of schools they have, what future they have. So those villagers, they think that, okay, to earn money, only thing that we can do is to produce hashish. And of course, it is very sad. I hope that those people who consume charas, they should know that who are doing the hard work to get this charas made. I mean, will they able to enjoy the puff when they are smoking this charas, and when they know that a 3-year-old child is making this charas?
Right, and also what are the police telling you? Is there a sense that the police and the other authorities are hand in glove with the locals who produce the hash, or is there a sense of helplessness among the law enforcement authorities because a large section of such cultivated land is inaccessible because of the terrain?
Well, what I saw, you know, the place where we were staying, the guest house where we were staying. So in that guest house, it's 2-floor building, and in one of the rooms we were there, and the children were coming to sell the charas to us. And the police was upstairs. They knew that police is there, but they were still selling it to us. Unfortunately, we couldn't film it because there was risk involved. So we saw that, okay, police is there, but it's not that they want to do it. I mean, it's not the possibility for them to reach to all these places. Right. It's inaccessible. If you are not from the village, you cannot reach to these places.
Right. So there you heard it, Aisha. In the recent past, Punjab has been in the public discourse for the drug abuse in that state. But the neighboring state of Himachal Pradesh, now from this report, we've learned that there is an open and rampant use and cultivation of hash.
Right, Shelja, thank you for that conversation, and again as well. Clearly, there are a number of issues at hand in terms of this debate so far as how to tackle the spread of the production of hashish, while at the same time looking at legalization and other factors. We are going to take a quick break on that note, but when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Tikku about what else needs to be done. Welcome back. You're joining us here on WION on a conversation regarding the production of Malana hash in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Vinod Kumar Tikku stands by with us in the studio right now. Mr. Tikku, in our report and conversation before we went into the break, we saw that there's a lot of issues that people perhaps are not necessarily aware of. Topography is one, a social fabric which is very, let's say, reluctant to allow administration and police to come in to prevent them from what has now become a tradition in many ways. What is the way forward for to ensure that the children in this conversation are brought to the supreme end of the conversation? They are being ignored in just keeping in economics and the lucrative nature of the business in mind.
I'll just give a small example of what we did in the Gangetic Chars in Malda, which for the last 70 years no school was opened out there, despite the fact that there were about 2,000 children out there, and they were deprived of their not only education, they were deprived of many other rights there. And in about 6 months' time, we opened 6 schools out there. The children were being used to roll beedies out there. So we had to wean them away. We had to talk to the elders of the community that how beneficial it is for them, for the community, not just for the child, for the community. When the child grows up and he learns something better, he goes into the skills development plan, then he can do better for the community. and they agreed to it, and they allowed the schools to be open, and we opened 6 schools out there.
So it's not just educating the children, but really educating the village elders who
Village elders,
understand.
it is, we had to make them aware of the problem, overall the total area of the development of the area.
Right. Is
Not
addiction also a problem in that case?
Definitely, yes, children have been subjected to it, because not only children, all the adults there are actually, they consume this hashish.
So it's not just about the fact that their childhood, as you were saying, has been snatched away from them
Yes.
in this production, but really it is promoting, addiction and possibly a continued market.
We are promoting
for
citizens who will be negative contributors to the society.
Right.
We have to produce children, we have to grow them up into a positive positive contributors to the society.
Right. Another point that did, of course, come up when Shailja was speaking with Nagin was, of course, Nagin brought up the concept of the consumer, the average person on the road who is, going across and perhaps purchasing. Do they really know where the product is coming from? And also, of course, what is the sort of demand that we're talking about when it comes to Malana cream and other types of hashish grown in the state of Himachal Pradesh? Shailja, our correspondent, is standing by. She is going to have a quick chat with a couple of people about how easily available hash is in, let's say, a metropolis like Delhi. Shailja, it's over to you.
Well, Aisha, it is an open secret that hash is openly available in cities like Delhi and other metros. In fact, we do see a lot of people from cities traveling all the way to different remote towns in Himachal Pradesh to procure the material. I have my young colleague Abhishek with me. Abhishek, tell us how easily stuff like marijuana and cannabis are available in our cities.
Okay, so Shailaja, cannabis, first of all, is not a major task to get in Delhi, because you have a lot of hubs here and there. You have hidden places where, it's like the source is like always there. So for hash in particular, the softer it is, the more you pay for it. And I think the entire availability depends on the proximity. Like the closer you are to the place, for example, if you're you're trying to score something from Delhi, and obviously it's like close to Himachal Pradesh, so the prices like vary. But it's not just in Delhi, it's there in Bangalore, it's there in Calcutta, it's there in Chennai, it's like there in all metropolitans. And so it's like easily available. It's like few calls away. You call your mutual friends here and there, you get a peddler's number, and you finally contact the peddler and you finally get it. So the pricing depends on the proximity, but the availability is always there.
Right. So there you heard it. It's a very, very systematic and organized way of procuring hash and other forms of drugs. And mostly, as Abhishek pointed out, it happens through word of mouth. Now, in Himachal Pradesh, according to reports, the number of cases registered under the Narcotic Act has doubled in the last decade alone. But the biggest challenge, of course, is for the law enforcement authorities to implement the law.
All right, Shailja, thank you for chatting there with Abhishek. We will take that across to Mr. Tikku, who joins us here in the studio. Mr. Tikku, is that then the problem, the accessibility and this widespread consumer network? There are young people in the city who, in most metropolises, who believe perhaps that, this is an organic form of narcotics. It is not as perhaps dangerous as, chemical forms. Is education of the consumer also a big factor at play over here?
Definitely, yes. The education, the awareness of a consumer is definitely very important, because not just that the hash that you get out of this place, but also the ill effects of the hash that it has on the body of the person who consumes it.
Right.
It destroys his inner organs. Certainly, over a period of time, he reduces his lungs and he reduces the effectiveness of his esophagus as well.
But what about countries where it has been legalized? Now, marijuana has been legalized in certain states, for instance, in the United States, for medical purposes. Is it time for the legalization conversation then to start, since it is going to be very difficult to perhaps tackle conversations with the consumer to deal with this issue? Does it have to then be a two-pronged approach?
See, if we compare our country with the United States, then we'll have to compare the literacy rate also. So we have to, first thing is we have to develop our citizens to know what is good and what is bad. We are not able to do that. We don't allow a child to know what is good for him. we decide on behalf of the child. We tell him, okay, you go and rub this, and then it will give me 20 rupees or 30 rupees or 40 rupees an hour.
Right.
So, and he does it very faithfully, because he knows that he's going to earn some money for the family. He's actually sacrificing his childhood. He's sacrificing his other wants that he would definitely be needing at that age for his family, for his parents.
But that's on the production side of it. In terms of the consumer, I think a lot of young people in the country are, I suppose, sick and tired of somebody older than them telling them what is good for them, what is bad for them. Does that then, is the mode of communication supposed to be also perhaps more attuned with the wants and demands of a generation where hash is part and parcel of their everyday life?
I mean, this has probably got something to do with the modern way of lifestyle that we are actually
and does
observing.
That demand then a change in attitude to how you are?
Yes, if you go to the universities, if you go to the colleges, you'll find that more and more students are actually taking on to this.
Right.
Just for the heck of it,
right.
Just to get that high on.
Right.
In our study, we found that there's something, we have a blue-throated lizard, which is found only in Meghalaya. That lizard is put into the liquor, kept there for 3 days, and it becomes a very strong liquor for you to get a very high on it in such a short space time. So this is how the children actually make us understand what's happening around. So we have not been able to control this in the universities and colleges, and that's why when these children come out of the colleges, they carry on this habit of this attitude of having a high on.
So that basically means that, as like you're pointing out the blue lizard, that means that as ways of attaining that high keep changing, the attitude and policies perhaps of our public service will have to change accordingly as well. We are of course running out of time as usual on television, it always happens, but thank you Mr. Tikku so much for joining us with your perspectives on that story. We are going to wrap up this bulletin on that note. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Aisha Sindhu. News and updates do continue on the other side of this short break. Stay with us.